Hello and a very warm welcome on ESPN Cricket Info Match Day. If the Sri Lankan management are looking for someone to bat in the top order and catch cleanly, we've got an option available, but unfortunately we can't spare him right now from the studio work. Thank you so much, Mahela Jayawardene, for keeping a smile on despite that performance from your team. Ian Chappell's got a lot to talk about with him today on this program. A pretty flat performance by the Sri Lankans, it has to be said. The West Indies in the end bossing this game, really. 7-wicket win in Bangalore. They didn't even need Chris Gayle. That's another talking point that's come out of this game. So 2 wins in 2 for the West Indies. Low scoring affair in Bangalore. Didn't expect that, and that's where the group is at the end of this contest. The West Indies will find themselves right on top. Good net run rate as well. South Africa winning earlier on in the day. Sri Lanka with a few problems. In this West Indies team tour Australia in the summer, Ian, these guys seem to be completely different. They love this format.
Yeah, not too many of these guys toured Australia, but yeah, they were horrible in Australia, really. It was sad to see.
But this was an exceptional performance.
Yeah, although I thought Sri Lanka made them fight, and Sri Lanka definitely didn't get the rub of the green. The umpiring, pretty well all the decisions went against Sri Lanka, but Sri Lanka also didn't help themselves. 2 drop catches that should have been taken. But some good things there for Sri Lanka. I was really impressed with the leg spinner. I think he's got a bit about him. So, but it was a poor batting performance. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get to talk about all of that over the course of the next half hour. Just how the West Indies constructed that chase. It was a small one. Chris Gayle got injured, and that created a little bit of an issue, you would have thought, at the top of the order. But no problem. Up steps Andre Fletcher and gets the job done. There was some parts, as Ian mentioned in the game, Ian, when Mahela, when the Sri Lankans were finding their way back into the game, but the West Indies had it covered for most of it.
Yeah, I think West Indies didn't have to take too many risks, but obviously the openers went hard. I was a bit disappointed with the Sri Lankan batting because I think after losing early wickets, they could have just consolidated a bit more. Maybe give their bowlers a target that, you know, they could have bowled at maybe 150 rather than 127. So it was very disappointing on that front. But I think, you know, Fletcher took his opportunity when Chris had to bat lower down the order. Batted really well, was aggressive. Probably had a bit of luck and you know, got them home. So like you said, you know, it was a very controlled performance and they deserved to win.
Yes, in fact, let me just go across to our matchday monitor to get some thoughts. Andre Fletcher, this is often in cricket, talk about how you've got to use your opportunities, and Andre Fletcher definitely did that for the West Indies. We'll just look in a little bit of depth at him, and just looking at that wagon wheel in that performance, Ian, one of the aspects obviously of this was how much of the West Indies chase was down to him. This is a guy who doesn't even get to bat in this position, gets thrown in there and actually does well against all sorts of bowlings. Here he was against Kulasekara. This is how he did against the seamer Dushanta Chamira. Seems to be in control against pace and spin.
Yeah, he's very much a bottom hand player, and he does tend to bludgeon the bowling. But then every now and again he would play a deft little touch. There were some very good things about his batting. As I say, at times you thought, oh, he's just a bit of a wood chopper, this guy. But then he would play a really sensible little deft touch shot, and he got his opportunity. Now he's made life a bit difficult for the West Indies selectors, which is the way. As a selector, you want to be making tough decisions, not, you know, swapping the chairs on the deck chairs on the Titanic.
I'm guessing no tough decision when Chris Gayle's at the top of the order. He comes right back in. Yeah. But Mahela, you picked Jeffrey Van der Sar at the top of when we were talking about this in the build-up. And you said here's someone to look out for. Also with Sirivardhane there, actually those 8 overs went for only 40 odd. So Sri Lanka got the spin part of this equation spot on, 4 wickets in there as well.
No, exactly. Like I said from the beginning, if they control Chris Gayle factor, all the right-handers will come under pressure against the leg spinner and the 2 left-armers. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough runs on the board and for those guys to be a bit more attacking, you know, in what they did. But I was quite impressed with Van der Sar because this is a guy who hasn't played much T20 cricket, but has confidence in him. He's got a good variety. Give him some time to develop. I think, you know, he should bowl a bit slower, give himself a bit more turn off the wicket, but that comes with playing more matches. But definitely impressed with him.
Yes.
I think just watching him, he just needs to slow his run up down just a touch. He's just trying to do too much too quickly.
Yeah, he was up against some big boys on the other end, trying to take him down. But I thought he handled himself quite well. But like more matches he plays of this format, especially, and one-day cricket, he will be a better bowler.
Yes, the problem area though for Sri Lanka, as Mahela has already alluded to, was the batting, and they just didn't get enough runs when they batted. This just 120 odd, all of the guys getting, like sort of middling starts at the top. But there is a problem there, especially in guys like Thirumanne and Kapugadara. These are people that Sri Lanka have invested in. They're not inexperienced guys anymore, Mahela, but they just don't seem to be And let's forget the Mahela Jayawardene, Kumar Sangakkara filling shoes conversation. That can be had another time, but this is just as themselves, they don't seem to be growing as players.
No, exactly. There's no excuses, to be honest, because Thirumanne is a guy who's been playing for the team for now almost 4 or 5 years in all formats, and that's why the new selectors actually brought him into the middle order, because it was a bit shaky. Given him a role, batting at 3, make sure that he bats that 10-12 overs that the team requires, so that guys like Angelo Matthews, Kapugadara, Siriwardene can go and actually play their shots. But I was very disappointed the way he got out, and then Kapugadara as well, an experienced captain who's been in the team for almost 10 years now. In that situation, just to take a chance against Padri, who was bowling quite well. Those are mistakes that you cannot make at this level, and especially in a World Cup. You need to, see what the situation is and bat to those situations. And Angelo Matthews obviously couldn't do much rather than just, get singles and just rotated himself out. So was disappointed in that situation.
One of the enduring images of the last World T20 was Mahela Jayawardene and Kumar Sangakkara buying out with the title. But look at what's happened, Ian, since then for the Sri Lankans in T20 cricket. Since that last World T20, they're averaging for the top 4. This is the lowest around the world. For all the major countries, the strike rates are not very good as well. How do you fill these shoes? How do young players take on the onus of replacing stalwarts such as this? And what do you do as selectors? Stay invested or move on?
Well, I mean, the guys that have been there, and I mean, quite a few of them, in fact, all of the guys that are in that side were there when Kumar and Mahela were playing, and they should have been learning from the two senior players. They haven't learnt much. So I think it's probably time to move on and try the next generation, because I think they've had so many opportunities. They haven't been able to prove themselves at international level, not really in any form of the game. So I think it's probably time to move on. Mahela can tell you about the first class competition. If the first class competition is not competitive enough, then it's very hard to bring these guys through so that they're ready for international cricket, not having to learn at international level. They should be prepared below international level. And then obviously there's a few things to learn about international cricket, but you shouldn't need to be learning a hell of a lot once you get to international level.
Definitely they won't have time to do that, especially if you have to go and win matches and perform, so it's going to be hard for them. Yeah,
as we head back to the matchday monitor, Mahela, one thought on the catching. What was going on there? There were some absolute sitters dropped.
Yeah, I was quite surprised when Kapugadara dropped the first one. He's probably one of our best fielders on the park. I don't know, was probably disappointed with his batting and thinking about it. Kulasekara dropping one as well. He's a quite safe hand. So in a match where you're defending 120 and then you drop catches and few of the decisions don't go your way, it's going to be hard to win matches.
All right, let's
pretty simple. With the outfield catch, Kulasekara. If you're trying to catch a ball down here with your fingers pointing up, you're not going to catch a lot of them. I don't understand that. Maybe I don't. I like to catch the ball with the palms facing up. But if you like to catch that way, do it in the outfield, but do it up here. You can't be catching balls down at this level with your fingers pointing up.
Haven't the Aussies taught the world that, Ian, I think?
Sorry?
The Aussies have taught the world that style of catching?
Well, everybody says it's the Australian way of catching, but I never caught like that, always caught like that. My brother Greg always caught like that. It's a thing that's happened very recently in Australia. To me, it's not the Australian way of catching. I think it's a bad way of catching.
One more myth busted there of the Australian way of catching, but the star with the ball for the West Indies was Samuel Badri. Not very long ago was ranked the #1 bowler in the world. That's a wonderful cluster just to have a look at. Mahila, if you're captain, this is the service that you want from one of your leading bowlers. 3 wickets there. Why were the Sri Lankans not able to get much out of, get Badri away at all?
Well, obviously the discussion would have been that to make sure that you don't give wickets to Badri and then rotate, get as many as possible. But I think losing Dilshan the way it was unfortunate, and then Chandimal for a run out, those two guys probably batted a bit better against Badri because they were knocking him around. But the guys who came after them were the ones who made the mistakes trying to go after him too early before knowing exactly what the wicket was doing and what was Badri doing, because he knew the Sri Lankans were under pressure. Like you said, the cluster, he's bowling quite straight, wicket to wicket, and on that length. So he's given himself a chance of picking up wickets.
Yeah.
So it's important that you assess those situations, not to give wickets to their main strike bowler, basically.
Right now,
I mean, looking at that, the thing that stands out there is the width. I mean, everything is basically within the stumps.
Yeah.
That's terrific bowling.
Yeah, and Samuel Badri very much the star for the West Indians on this day. However, there was one performance that wasn't a starring one. That was the role of the umpires. I'm going to let Ian Chappell take us away on this. But the first, the major decision there was the caught of Andre Fletcher. Was that out?
Well, yes, it was out. There's a number of things. I mean, why are they replaying 4 catches on the bounce? I mean, Tony Greig 15 years ago reenacted a catch. It was in Sri Lanka against England. He reenacted a fair catch, and they shot it from all the angles, and there were some of the angles that made it look as though the ball had bounced. So why are they replaying catches? That decision should be made on the field. The umpire on the field gave his decision as out in this one. But I mean, if you understand anything about cricket, and Simon Fry obviously doesn't understand anything about slip fielding or catching, behind the wicket, and he doesn't understand about television and the vagaries of television, because as a slip fielder, if the ball hits your hands first there, it hits there and then it goes up into your palms. Yeah. And that's why, as a slip fielder, you've caught it, because if your fingers are on the ground, it hits very hard and then it goes there. If the ball bounces, it bounces there, and the next thing it hits is up here. That ball, even though it was a keeper with gloves on, it hit there and then went up into the palm. That immediately tells you that it's caught. A producer at Channel 9 many years ago, when the video umpire started to come in, he said, I think the third umpire should have more knowledge of television than the actual laws of cricket. And I think he's got a point. I think you obviously need both. You need an umpire there who understands the laws of cricket, but you need also somebody who understands television, because it'll show you things. I mean, they say that pictures don't lie, but that's rubbish. In television, pictures do lie at times. But there was no evidence there to overturn that decision. All the evidence I saw was it was a catch.
And that from an experienced broadcaster, someone who's been doing this for more than, 30, 40 years now, as Ian Chappell.
Don't remind me, thanks, Gaurav.
One other incident, and you tweeted about this as well, which was the Dilshan LBW, key Sri Lankan batsman, given what quite clearly was not out. You believe that technology should be used, and in fact you think that the decision review system should be considered.
If you're using that in Test match cricket and in one-day cricket and in the 50-over World Cup, why aren't you using that in 20-over World Cup? I mean, I'm not taking the pressure the umpires are in these situations, but they do make mistakes, and there should be a DRS so that you could overturn, because it was a crucial decision for Sri Lankan point of view. In-form batsman, the guy who has a better record against West Indies, and he had a good start to the innings as well. So as soon as he was given out, obviously the momentum shifted, and we had the run out, and then the next few wickets. It's not just that decision. Like I said, Sri Lankans did dig a bigger hole for themselves. But these are things that we could, because the technology is available. Why aren't we using it? I mean, I'm very disappointed.
There are mistakes and there are bad decisions with umpiring. Anybody can make a mistake. That was a bad decision, because if the umpire really understood the geometry of the game of cricket. Anybody who's bowling out wide and bowls at that angle and the ball hits the pitch, it's going at an angle. I mean, he should never have even thought about giving that out because of where the guy delivered it from and the fact that he's laying back here. The angle is obviously going to take the ball wide of leg stump. I agree with Mahela that, I mean, so what are the officials saying? That T20 cricket isn't that important? It's in DRS. If you've got to have DRS, surely you've got to have it in all forms.
All right, lots of talking points there from that game. The umpires not having a very good game, just as the Sri Lankans. We'll take a break at this point. We'll come back to the first game on this Super Sunday. Welcome back on ESPN Cricket Info Match Day. There was a game before the Sri Lankans went down to the West Indies on this Super Sunday. The South Africans are on the board in this World T20. They've beaten Afghanistan by 37 runs. But there was a small problem for the South Africans. You see there the Afghans getting 172 in their 20 overs. And this is an astonishing stat, that one. There were 3 spells in that performance by the South Africans, David Wiese, Kagiso Rabada and Kyle Abbott, that are the most expensive spells in the history of all T20 internationals by a top 8 team against the associates. So there was a little problem for the South African there to handle. Now, on our matchday monitor, we thought we'd just look a little bit more in depth at the South African performance. There was Kagiso Rabada in that performance against the Afghans. A lot of runs going off him. Kyle Abbott as well wasn't very successful. He went for 36 in his 4 overs. But the big problem area for the South Africans was the man that replaced Dale Steyn. David Wiese went for 47 runs in his 4 overs. Would you be replacing a bowler like Steyn so early on in the tournament, Ian, based on that evidence?
Well, the first thing with all 3 of those bowlers is the variations in length. They're enormous variations, all 3 of them. I mean, I know you're trying to do different things so that the batsmen don't see a pattern from the bowler, but I'm not sure you need to be varying that much. I can't see that's... I understand the odd slower ball bouncer and you're attempting some Yorkers, but it just seems way too much of a variation from all 3. And yes, I was surprised that Steyn was replaced, yeah.
Right, one of the bowlers who actually did have a good game for the South Africans was Chris Morris. And we're just going to put some numbers up of Chris Morris. He actually had a bad game in his first outing, but 4 for 27 in this one. How did he get that repair job in place, Mahela? And do you think that's one sort of lesson for the South African bowling unit, if you like, going forward?
Well, I think he was lucky. He managed to get a couple of early wickets. He bowled some good balls. Abbott and Rabada bowled some good balls, but they got disappeared as well. So they were under pressure. They did not make the adjustments, but Chris Morris did make the adjustment, bowl much closer to the body. He didn't give much width, so he managed to get through. So that's something that he could work on. But touching on dropping Steyn, they probably should have played him in this match and given him the match practice, because I know that he hasn't played that much cricket leading up to the tournament. And now by playing Wiese, they've created another big problem going into the next match, which is a big game for them. Not sure exactly what their combination is going to be. So I think hopefully Morris and Abbott are the good bowlers who got experience in T20 cricket. Rabada is just getting into things. So I think having Steyn in that lineup would be a good option for them.
Right. One set of numbers also to look at from South Africa's point of view. Now, we've been talking about how their seamers went in this particular game, but just looking at their economy rates in T20 internationals. Now, over the years, Ian, and South Africa is a good bowling country, but if you look over the last 5 years, just have a look at how their economy rates continue to grow. Is that just a factor of the game expanding, or the fact that conditions in South Africa have become more batting friendly? How do you assess something like this? It's over 9 this year now for the South African faster guys.
Well, I think their quality of bowlers has probably slipped a little bit over the years, but I think also they have they've tried to, in the past, they've tried to contain. That's been their big thing, to have bowlers who contain you and wait for the opposing side to make mistakes and get themselves out. I think now they've got a more attacking lineup, especially when Stain's there. You know, with Rabada, Stain, and Imran Tahir. There's three very attacking bowlers. So I think it's a more attacking bowling lineup, and that's perhaps one of the reasons why they're paying a little bit more per over.
All right, we'll have to look at how the South Africans go going forward in this tournament. They're at least on the points table. We are taking a quick break. When we come back, we've got some questions coming from you for Mahela Jayawardene and Ian Chappell from Twitter. So stay right there. Just a little bit left when we come back. Welcome back on ESPN Cricket Info Match Day. Just a little bit of time left, so we thought why not give some of you the opportunity to interact with Mahela Jayawardene and Ian Chappell. That's how you can actually get in touch with us. Hashtag is ESPN Match Day. Mahela is quite a tweeter. He does enjoy his tweeting. Just the first question, that's Mukesh Dash, and it has to do with Sri Lankan cricket. Sri Lankan cricket losing track after major retirements, or is it just a transition phase? He asks Mahela.
I don't like to call it a transition phase. I think obviously having a major tournament like this, you know, we had enough time to plan, but obviously there were things which did not go right. So something for Sri Lanka cricket to sit back, look at. It happens. I mean, all teams go through that, where areas where we made mistakes, how we can develop the next generation much quicker. Is there something that we could do at our domestic cricket structure, see whether we can develop players much faster? So areas to look at and push players. I think we still have the talent. Majority of the team which won the last World Cup is still there, at least about 6 or 8 guys. Yeah. So it's just the other guys that they had to fill in. So we seriously have to look at areas how we can improve.
Just a few of the other guys that they have to fill in happen to be legends, but yeah. Just a quick one. Sami Noor, this is for Ian Chappell. Quick one, Ian. Who's the best bowler in the world right now? T20 cricket?
Well, Mitchell Starc when he's fit, but he's not fit at the moment.
Who's the best one you've seen in the tournament?
I need more time to think about that. I haven't. No one's actually hit me between the eyes, and that I think, yes, he's outstanding.
Maybe Mitchell Santner's made a case for himself a little bit, but he's not the best in the world.
No. I'm holding my opinion off for a while yet.
All right, we are just about finished here. Thank you so much, guys, for sparing the time. We are of course available here every day at 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. for viewers on Sony ESPN. Just time enough to tell Mahela Jayawardene that I believe Manchester United have won. So it's not a washout this day.
Excellent, okay.
I think so. It's a 1-0 result for Manchester United. See the smile on Mahela Jayawardene.
Because the umpiring was poor on both games. So.
Oh yeah, the referee in that one wasn't very good. Ian Chappell, you don't care about the football result.
No, I don't, but I like to see United beaten.
All right. We'll keep this going outside the studio. That's it on ESPN Cricket Info Match Day for the day. Thank you so much for joining us.